Welcome to Hoda's Career Info, the program where career professionals from across the globe meet to empower you to succeed. Watch, listen, and learn. And remember to have that very important career conversation with a career professional.
Before you start a resume or start thinking about how you're going to go to market, you really need to think about what you want and what you bring to the market and the type of opportunity you want and company and all of that. Job search strategy is really important. How are you going to take yourself out to market? It's beyond the resume, LinkedIn profile, but really like what are the channels that make the most sense to you? A job search is a long game. It's not something that you typically are going to find right away. Everyone has those feelings of like no one's going to want me or inadequacy or oh, I'm never going to be able to make headway. It's going to be too hard. But don't let your negative kind of thoughts in your head get in the way of your long-term goal.
Thank you for joining me in Hoda's Career Info, your career program where guests from across the globe share career tips and personal stories to help you successfully navigate your career. I am Hoda, your host. I look forward to another season of career chats with international professionals who will inspire you to take your journey to the next level. My guest today is Debra Boggs, the founder of D&S Executive Career Management. Debra works with interesting, talented, and successful executives from all over the globe to equip them with the tools they need to compete for the top jobs in their fields. Debra has been recognized as a resume, LinkedIn, and job search expert by the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, Fast Company, the Huffington Post, and many others, in addition to serving as an international speaker and guest for top-rated podcasts. In 2021, Debra was recognized by Forbes as a Next 1000 entrepreneur. She holds a Master of Science in Management, a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, and an Associate of Science in Labor Studies. Debra is also an active member of Career Thought Leaders, a founding member of the Career Industry Authority, and a member of Chief, a private network for the most powerful women in leadership. Debra, her husband, and her two boys are located on the southern coast of Maine, USA. Join me as Debra Boggs shows us the value of having a career search strategy. Thank you, Debra Boggs, for joining me today and your willingness to share your expertise on my program. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I usually like to start my show right away by asking you to choose a career term that reflects the work you do and the services you offer. The purpose is, of course, to educate the audience about our work as career professionals. So what's your career term and how you define it from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited about this. I spent a lot of time thinking about what career term we would talk about because I know that you have so many people on your program that are so, skilled in a lot of different areas. And I think for our work, the term I wanted to focus on was job search strategy because it's such an important part of the process, and especially as a firm that started out as resume writers and now help executives through their long-term searches, that job search strategy is really important to us. That means kind of your personal go-to-market strategy. How are you going to take yourself out to market? It's beyond the resume, LinkedIn profile, but really like what are the channels that make the most sense to you? And a lot of people kind of stop at the resume or think their job search strategy is going to be applying to online applications, over and over and over again endlessly until they get a job. And that's not true for most people, and especially for our executive level clients. So we like to think that that strategy should include three areas. Um, and the first area is really getting clear on your direction, right? Even before you start a resume or start thinking about how you're going to go to market, you really need to think about what you want and what you bring to the market and the type of opportunity you want and company and all of that, because that defines the rest of the strategy. And then the next piece is thinking about the channel that makes sense for you. I have a lot of clients who will say, well, I just want to find the right recruiter to work with. And that doesn't necessarily make sense for everyone, depending on how recruiters work and whether, they're an apples to apples candidate for the type of role they're looking for. So maybe, their network is going to be a better channel for them or something else. Um, and then finally, just kind of remembering that that job search is a long game. It's not something that typically are going to find right away, especially again, with our clients at executive level, there's less roles out there and they're going to be picky. They've earned the right to be picky. Right. And so to remember that, there's small wins in the middle of that, reaching that bigger goal. So for us, that's kind of what I wanted to focus on.
That's a perfect term. It's a Vigety term, and it hasn't been used before, so that's good. And it is an important part of the career journey to have that expertise in how to go and build your job search strategy for sure, and make yourself marketable to the right people. It's a very good term. The next question is usually asking you to share your personal story. Of course, embedded with it, any message that you'd like to share by being on this program.
So this is such a fun question, and I don't talk about my story very often. So it was one of those uncomfortable things where I thought, "Ooh, what am I going to say? I'm not really sure." But I decided, since a lot of your audience is career professionals, in our space and some entrepreneurs, I thought I would talk about a snapshot in time when I was first building our business. Um, and so I'm going to flash back to early 2016. And I had a corporate career at the time, and I had decided I wanted to start freelancing as a resume writer because I've always been a resume nerd. I really enjoy it. And I thought it'd be a fun way to make some extra money and kind of work on a passion project. So I built a profile on Upwork, the freelancing platform. I, spent all this time kind of the right words, pictures, doing all the things. And then I started submitting proposals to open jobs on Upwork to find an opportunity to write a resume for clients. And I was getting nowhere. Like I had applied for several weeks at a time, several weeks in a row. I was sending these proposals out and I was getting zero, no bites, nothing at all. Um, and so I started to get really down about it, like thinking like, oh, I'll never make any headway. No one wants to work with me. No one thinks I'm a professional in this space. Like I'll never break into this. Um, and then a runway model in London totally turned my career around. And it was the turning point for everything for me because, after several weeks of failure and feeling like no one cared or wanted to work with me and that I was never going to be able to freelance in this space, I was sitting in the car waiting on my husband in an appointment one day, and I got an alert on my phone that I had been hired for my very first resume writing job, like paid. Um, and it was a runway model in London, and she was looking for a resume to help her job search in case she had to transition careers because she knew that modeling wasn't going to be her forever job. Um, and I had so much fun on that project. I got to know her. I got to learn about an industry I don't know anything about. It really kickstarted everything for me. And even though that project, I made a whopping $70 on that whole project we worked on together, it really was the turning point for my freelancing career. And then what has ultimately become DNS executive career management since then, because after that first one, I got confidence. I got, a little bit of work history. So I got more projects and more until it snowballed and took over my life. So the message I wanted to share is that, everyone has those feelings of like, no one's going to want me or inadequacy or, oh, I'm never going to be able to make headway. It's going to be too hard. Um, but don't let your negative kind of thoughts in your head get in the way of your long-term goal, because we're all, just a small opportunity away from a big break. And sometimes we can't see it right around the corner. So that's one of those things I had almost given up until I'd gotten that opportunity.
That is a very, very good message, because I get a lot of career practitioners reaching out to me and say, well, I'm starting out, with a resume writing business or career coaching. And when should I expect to get clients, and how fast does that work, and how does it work? So thank you for sharing your story. That's a very important story, and the message within it is equally important. Debra, the name of your company, DNS, Executive Career Management, you just mentioned it. And I usually Google my guests and go look at their websites to learn more about them. And what caught my attention on your website is that you list yourself as the co-founder of DNS, Executive Career Management. So I scrolled down all the way to the bottom looking for the other co-founder, and I couldn't find the other co-founder. So what's the story behind this, Debra?
I'm so glad you asked, because I don't get to talk about my other co-founder very often because he's not, public facing. But for me, so our co-founder, in my opinion, is my husband. And when I say my opinion, I think he probably would think differently and has thought differently. But I honestly would not have been able to start this business or scale and grow it to what it has become today without his unending support and his help in the early days. So, back to early 2016 when I had started the business, he actually took a step back and became full-time stay-at-home dad to care for our, at the time, really young sons. They were, I think, 1 and 4 at the time. So that I could focus on the business and focus on my career and really put all of my time and attention into building this. And then he could focus on all the things of running a household and being lead parent and all the things that the kids need, right? Um, and that was wildly helpful because I didn't fall into the traps that so many women and mothers fall into of trying to build a business or build a career and then also having all these other things that can be roadblockers or kind of can get in the way of really deep work and deep focus. And so I think sacrificing his own career so I could focus on that really helped us start the business. And then honestly, in the early days, he stayed up late nights with me building the website and building out our suite of services. And when I first started on Upwork, he took over the submitting proposals and communicating with clients ahead of time. And then I just did the writing piece. And actually, it's funny, he had been in construction before he started staying home, and I had come out of business development and sales. But it was funny, handing over the business development sales piece to him was the key for us in the early days. He did so much better at it than I did. It was so funny. He did such a great job proposal writing and things like that. So I really consider myself a co-founder because I couldn't have gotten here without him. At the same time, we don't add him to the website because he's not really a public facing guy and he'd rather kind of hang out in the background. Um, and today, he doesn't have as much of a hands-on role in the business as he did, during pandemic when he started doing full-time stay-at-home dad stuff and school. I replaced him, to be honest, with somebody else. But today, now we still do. He helps with strategy, big picture stuff, day to day, things. He's my sounding board for all of that. So that's why I consider myself a co-founder.
That is a very, very good example of a collaborative effort that can happen between husband and wife. And wow, that's a great story. It just reminds us of the value of the accountability partners in our life.
Absolutely. So incredibly helpful.
And I've got another question about your services within your company. So what type of services do you offer, and who is your ideal client?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, our ideal client is typically a VP to C-level or board level candidate looking for their next opportunity. So we say that we're like the home stagers to come in to make a luxury property look expensive before it goes on the market. So our clients are typically wildly employable. They don't necessarily need us to get a job, but we're really positioning them for the very top jobs in their field or the top board opportunities, or making that kind of a transition. So our ideal client is someone that, or I should say where we do our best work, is where they maybe have a complex career, or something to message around. Or a lot of our clients have built an amazing career through, the promotions and their network and getting recruited. And all of a sudden they're at this point where they have to start a high level job search for the first time. They've never searched for themselves at that level, and they don't know what that looks like and what they need and how to compete. And so that's what we do. And in our work, we kind of do that end to end piece around getting ready to go to market and then all the way through that market process. So we don't do any of the placements or the search, but we do kind of getting clear on a direction, like we talked about in the beginning. We do executive resume or board resume writing, LinkedIn profiles, not just the content, but the images and keyword optimization and all of that stuff. And then we do, we can do recruiter introductions. The job search strategy is a big part of our work. Interview prep, compensation negotiation, consulting, if they're getting ready to go through that process. So we kind of help through all of those stages. We tell clients we can be as hands-on or as hands-off as they need. We can do the resume and they can hit the ground running, or if they need kind of that closer work together, we can do that too.
Thank you for summarizing it. I know it's tough because every service can be talked about for a much longer time, but just to give people a glimpse of what you and your team offer through your company. And so that, I think, gave us a very good idea. As within the career field, we always encourage our clients to continually do professional development or embrace new challenges or new projects. What do you have going on, Debra, that you think the audience should know for now or in the near future?
Yeah, this year, I'm really excited about this year for us, because last year we grew a lot, and there was a lot of growth in the company. And so there was, all those growing pains of understanding what that looks like and kind of fitting into our new clothes. And we really expanded our work in the board space with board resumes and board bios and kind of working with that whole group of people. And so this year, coming off of all of that growth, I really wanted to focus, kind of my word for 2023 is excellence. And I want to focus on excellence in, our client experience and the services and deliverables that we offer, but also in our team experience and kind of how we work with our team and their experience with us. And so we've really been focusing a lot on professional development. A lot of us are going to conferences this year or doing certifications and training to focus on some different areas where we have some opportunities. We're updating and elevating all of our templates, based on, the latest best practices. And so we're just spending some deliberate time thinking about how we can make everything just a little bit better, right? And if we do that all year, I'm hoping we'll end at a place that's much better than where we are now. So I'm really excited about that. So that's what we're focused on right now.
Well, that's very exciting, and I wish you the best luck in these opportunities for you and your team. These are all the questions I have for you today, Debra. Was there anything else you would like to wrap up with?
I think I could wrap up with a quote I've been thinking a lot about, actually. And I had kind of pulled it up as I was thinking about this conversation and kind of going back to the story you'd had about, or that story you'd asked about kind of in the early career stuff. And so for anyone who's maybe struggling with how to make this a business, or, whether they're good enough, or, all of these things that we kind of get in our head about, I like to remind myself of a quote that I'm going to butcher, so you guys can all look it up later, that Stephen King said, that was, you are a writer if you have written something for someone else and they sent you a check for it and the check cleared and you paid the light bill. If you did all of those things, then I consider you talented. And so I think anytime I'm like, oh my gosh, that could have been better, I'm like, no, Stephen King thinks I'm talented. It'll be fine. So I like to kind of keep that in perspective of, someone has paid me to do something. This is okay. It'll be fine. We can just get better every day.
I love this message, and it's so important for a lot of people dealing with, second thoughts about what they're doing, and definitely will add it to my list of quotes. Thank you so much, Debra. Yeah, thank you so much, Debra, for joining me.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much. It was so good to meet you.
That's it for Hoda's Career Info. the program where career professionals from across the globe join me to empower you to succeed. My guest on today's Hoda's Career Info is Debra Boggs. She shared valuable job search strategies that will help you stay focused in your job search. You can connect with Debra Boggs on LinkedIn. Remember that you have two options to access Hoda's Career Info. You can either watch it on our YouTube channel, Hoda's Career Info, or you can listen to it since it's also dropped as a podcast. To let me know if you are interested in an opportunity to talk about your work, you can send me a direct message on my website, rightcareerfit.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter to stay up to date on the latest episodes. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow me on social media for more career info. I am your host, Hoda. Until next time, stay inspired and move forward in constructive ways.